Next guest never takes his eye off this ball. He's always watching the border and its security implications. He joins us from the great state of Georgia, Congressman Austin Scott. Congressman, great to have you on the show.
Hey, John, thanks for having us. And just a great subject that, we need to just remind the Americans of some simple things. And I know you're always out there doing it on a daily basis and how we're being taken advantage of.
No, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. We are. I wanted to ask a little bit. There was about maybe 6 months ago, there were a whole bunch of former FBI agents who wrote a letter to Congress saying, Mr. Speaker, we think that the border is even more insecure than the FBI director has led on. Obviously, the FBI director has been very candid since that time. But have you seen anything from your perch that suggests that there's been any fortification, any improvement from keeping bad actors out of this country?
Absolutely not. And, if you look back, going until when Joe Biden was sworn into office, our border was secure when he went into office. He bragged about one of the first things that he did was taking an executive action, undoing the security measures that Donald Trump put in place. So number one, that's proof he can take executive action on the border. It was taken to undo what Donald Trump had done. That opened our border. That the message was sent wide and clear worldwide that the U.S. border is open by the Biden-Harris administration. He then, for 3.5 years, denied that he had the ability to take executive action on the border. Well, let me say this. Once the polls became a problem for him because of all of the illegal immigration, then he took the position, hey, I can't take executive action on the border. Just a reminder, it was his executive action that created the crisis at the border. And now he came out this week and took executive action on the border. And I'll be honest with you, John, as someone who studied the issue for several years now, I don't understand what he did. All he had to do was put Remain in Mexico back in place, and it would have stopped probably 75% at a minimum of the illegal immigration if he had put Remain in Mexico back in place. Of course, that would be an acknowledgement that President Trump's policies had been working. And nobody in the administration or my colleagues that are Democrats can really explain what he did. I mean, even the people defending what he did can't explain what he did. It's just they're going to defend him no matter what because they're that far left. But he's at a minimum, he's still allowing thousands of people a day to come here illegally. And
it is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. And what do you think the leadership of other countries did? I mean, there's some with people that are problems for them in their country. I mean, pretty easy to send them one-way ticket to the United States, right, and get them off your back.
Cheapest way to do it.
Yep. Let's not pay to keep them in prison inside our country. Let's send them to the U.S., let them commit a crime there. And I'll tell you this, John, what most Americans may not know, even those who listen to your show, we don't have detainers on them. And so Customs and Border Patrol could put detainers on people who are illegally inside the United States of America. And then if they got caught committing a crime, the local jurisdictions would detain them until they were handed over to Customs and Border Patrol to be deported. They won't even do that. And I had a judge text me the other day. He's like, hey, I got 3 from Colombia right here in Georgia and basically can't do anything with them. And so I have I-75 that runs through my district, human and drug trafficking corridor. What do you think these people are doing? They're trafficking humans. They're trafficking drugs. They get caught, and the judges really can't do a whole lot with them because Customs and Border Patrol won't put detainers on them. Now, understand this. This isn't the Customs and Border Patrol agents that are out there working every day trying to protect us. These are the people at the executive level that are pandering to the far left and those who are coming to this country illegally.
Yeah, it is remarkable. And the risk factor is just multiplying by the day. There were just so many people that we just simply don't know are doing it. It's just where they are, how they came here, what their intentions are. It's just remarkable.
Well, Christopher Wray, like some people like him, some people don't, but he's out there saying all of the lights are flashing red.
Right.
This is our FBI director of the United States saying all of the lights are flashing red. And he's been saying it for weeks.
Yeah, actually, first time was December of last year, so it's almost 6 months he's been issuing the warning. It's remarkable, and there's really been little. I want to get your reaction because I think you do such a great job of analyzing what's fact and fiction. Joe Biden says yesterday, my executive order solves this. I've done it. Of course, this is the same executive power he claimed he didn't have for months. But is there anything in this executive order that makes anything improved?
Oh, I'm not saying, I don't think it will, John, and I will tell you, because as long as you have said, as long as you put a threshold out there that says, all right, we're going to accept 2,500, then the race is to be the first, there, to make sure you're one of the first 2,500. So I don't think that you do anything until you put a Remain in Mexico or something like that back in place, where it makes it absolutely clear that you're not invited to come to the United States of America illegally. And let me say this one more time. I've said it before. Legal immigration is an asset to the United States. Illegal immigration is a liability to the United States. If you're in this country illegally, you need to go back. And I'm not saying that they're not some good people. I'm just saying we're a nation of laws. If we ignore the law, then we're going to pay a price for it. And so legal immigration is an asset. Illegal immigration is a liability.
Yeah, no, it's such an easy equation. And yet, and by the way, Americans agree 100% what you say. You look at it, it's like an 80% issue on this. And yet the president continues to execute a strategy that goes against the prevailing sentiments of this country. It's really kind of remarkable. I want to ask if you have any further insights into some of these illegal aliens and non-citizens who've penetrated military bases, whether at Quantico recently or in other locations. Is there any further sense of whether these are coordinated or isolated and what the intentions of the penetrators might have been?
I don't know that they're coordinated among the different groups at the different bases. But what I will tell you is, anyone who is trying to, penetrate our military installations, especially if they're here from a foreign country, should be treated as an enemy of the country. I mean, I don't understand the tolerance for this.
Yeah, it is more than, and the numbers they're getting pretty big, right? These are big numbers now, these penetrations. They're not just a couple.
The far left would say it's not their fault. What do you mean it's not their fault? They knew what they were doing. I mean, this is, don't be naive, John. These people know exactly what they're doing.
They sure do.
And I mean, I'm not saying that. I know you're not naive.
Yeah, no, but you're right. The warning is that we can't be naive about it. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. And the Democrats that are advocating for them know exactly what they're doing too.
All right. So another one that everywhere I go, people ask me, why are so many military-aged Chinese men coming into the country? Any guess as to what's going on there? Was that coordinated by the country? Is it just people trying to escape communism? What's your guess?
Because they can. Joe Biden has made it clear. The United States border is open. Come one, come all. That has been the message from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who, last I heard, he put her in charge of the border. I haven't heard lately that she takes credit for it. But if you were an enemy of the United States and you wanted to send people into the United States of America to do the United States of America harm, you got a pretty good chance of getting them in if you simply get a travel visa into Mexico and have them walk up to the border, turn themselves into Customs and Border Patrol, and then President Biden and Vice President Harris will have you released into the continental United States. That's what happens.
Yeah, it is remarkable.
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. I don't understand it, and I don't think most Americans do. And I guess their best opportunity to solve it is to make a decision in November. That seems to be the best option there.
And look at the cost, John. Even if they don't come here to do the United States harm, if they come here and they cannot work legally, which means they don't pay taxes, they're still in our healthcare system. Their kids end up in our school systems. It is a huge financial liability for us to allow illegal immigration. Now, if they come here legally, then they're paying into the tax system, and they're working, and they're an asset to the United States. Legal immigration is an asset. Illegal immigration is a liability.
Yeah, and it's something we need to keep reminding people. I want to ask about one thing, because if you allow so many holes into the border security system and people are pouring over like Joe Biden is, it becomes more and more important that our counterterrorism capabilities elsewhere can detect what people might be trying to use that open border there. We just lost a very important post in Niger. I wonder if you could weigh in. I know you've said some really profound things about this and really been one of the most leading voices on this in Congress, but this is a significant loss, and it's a big gain for Russia, both propaganda and counterintelligence-wise, right?
It is, and I go to Africa on a fairly regular basis as a member of the Armed Services Committee, and we always travel to Africa in a bipartisan manner, small groups, and where we do have differences of opinion among the individual members, we never let any of those differences of opinion show in front of somebody from another country. Yeah, I mean, it is, we take this serious. There are several things happening that are working against the United States on the continent of Africa. One is we have, the Biden administration has been very pushy about their LGBTQ and human rights initiatives on the continent of Africa. Homosexuality is illegal on that continent in the majority of those countries. The initiative of the Biden and Harris is that if you want assistance from the United States, then you need to comply with the U.S. Humanitarian standard, if you will. We're talking about Africa. We're talking about countries where that is illegal. And so we walk in with a list of demands for countries and that they don't agree with, and the Russians and the Chinese walk in and they say, well, we don't have any of those demands. And so we, the United States, who used to be the partner of choice, have, we've lost ground, and there's no other way to put it. And it is a refusal of the Biden administration to acknowledge that when you are talking about the continent of Africa, you just have to accept that the playing field, to put it in athletic terms, is different on the continent of Africa than it is in the Western Hemisphere or in Europe or in other parts of the world.
It's not a one-size-fits-all, is it?
Well, it's not, but it's also a situation where you have countries who share your interest, and you have countries who share your values, and hopefully you can find countries that share both your interest and your values. If a country doesn't share your interest or your values, then we probably shouldn't be investing anything in those countries. But Niger was one of those countries where we had a tremendous investment in some of our air bases over there, and we have been asked to leave, and we're leaving. And it is, I think part of it is naivety of the Biden-Harris administration, and just a refusal to accept that the mission is more important than an agenda. And so you've got an administration that puts agendas above missions, and it's creating problems for us on that continent. And so, we can recover it. I mean, the longer these countries partner with Russia and China, the worse it's going to be for them. Some of their people recognize that. But, Africa's a tough continent.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it is. And I think you're right. It requires innovative thinking, not cookie cutter thinking. Sir, it's always an honor. One last question, because every time I come on, people really appreciate your commitment to watching food security, which a lot of people don't talk about in Congress. Big event the last couple of weeks with the new Farm Bill, which really has the word food security in it, which I know you had something to do with. How important is that bill, and what will it do to address the concerns that you've been so done a good job highlighting?
So it's extremely important, and let's just remember that when we go to the grocery store, and I was at one earlier today, and the shelves are full, but somewhere somebody was willing to put the blood, sweat, tears, and money into planting a seed and growing a crop and taking the risk to grow that crop, or we wouldn't have the groceries on the shelf that we have. And so of what we call the Farm Bill, and this is the real challenge for us today, about 6% of that total spending, John, goes to crop insurance, which allows people to insure their crops so that in the case of a hurricane or some other type of disaster, they would at least be able to recoup, their investment in the crop, fertilizer, diesel, labor, seed. It's all expensive. And about 4% goes to what is called ARC, or Agricultural Risk Coverage, or PLC, which is price loss coverage, so that if you have a price collapse in the commodity, they would have some coverage there. So about 10% of what we call the Farm Bill now goes to supporting that safety net of our food supply. 82% of it, John, goes to SNAP or some other type of food assistance. And about 8% of it goes to conservation and other things. But 82% goes to some type of food assistance. And I will tell you, there are a lot of Americans that need food assistance. I don't begrudge those who do. I feel for them, and we're a wealthy country. And the only thing I ask is that if someone's an able-bodied working age adult, they should have to work. They should have to work. They shouldn't be able to just say, I don't want to work. We had a big fight over that. We moved the work requirements to the age of 54. I think it should have been moved to 59. And even though 82% of spending is going to some type of food assistance, John, they had screamed and yelled and saying, you're taking food out of babies' mouths, you're stealing from the poor. And I want them to tell me, if 82% is not enough of the legislation, how much more do you want?
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Well, there's got to be some safety net for the American farmer out there. There just does. Otherwise, you're not going to see the crops planted. And if the crops don't get planted, we saw this with the egg shortage, right? When you have shortages of food, prices go up. Who does that hurt the most? It hurts low-income Americans. So we're trying to move forward in an honest manner. The Senate refuses to put language out. But we'll see. Let me say this: House Republicans are going to continue to operate in the best interest of the American citizens. We can't control what Joe Biden does. We can't control what Chuck Schumer does. We're not playing games. We take all these issues seriously.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of serious thought that went into this bill. And I think one of the interesting things is, too, I think people are starting to realize if you don't deal with the upstream problems, the downstream problems of food poverty is only going to get worse. And so you're actually trying to roll it back at the source, which is keeping food prices cheaper at its point of origin. And I think that that's something that Democrats have missed in the debate when you look at what they talk about.
I agree.
It is such an honor to have you on the show. We always learn so much when you come on. What a great conversation once again. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you.
You as well. Folks, we're going to take a quick